Hey YouTube, Jam here, and welcome back to the gaming station. So today we're going to be going over the balance changes that they just released, and I got Incendium on the channel. What's going on, Incendium?
Hey man, what's up? Glad to be on the channel.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, Incendium is another YouTuber. He has like 4,000 subscribers. He does like in-depth tech talk about Brawl Stars. So he's done a couple videos. He did a in-depth talk about what he thinks about Chloette. And I found him doing a Brock review talking about like Brock Super and the most effective way to use it.
I love talking about just like the little things in Brawl Stars that a lot of people just overlook and take for granted can really help your playing overall if you really take the time to focus in on them. So that's basically what a lot of my videos are about, just really focusing on the small things and trying to optimize those.
Yeah, it reminds me of like early OJ, like when he started in Clash Royale and how he would talk about the micro interactions and how best to like pull and kite and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've always really loved his videos with the same way that he really focuses in and makes like long, in-depth videos about just little tech things that you can do. A lot of my videos are sort of modeled after his, so yeah.
Yep, it's definitely good content, and I think you deserve way more subs than 4,000 because the amount of work that you put into it is so apparent, and it's really good. So I highly suggest checking him out.
Thanks, dude. Really appreciate it.
Yep. So we'll get started into the balance changes. So we'll start with Poco. They decreased his healing gadget from 500 to 400 per second.
Yeah, this is it doesn't make too much sense to me because it's really not that significant at all. Like in the grand scheme of things, he's only losing like 400 health overall, or 400 to 500 health overall from the healing, and his gadget really isn't the issue when it comes to why Poco and like Poco double tank is so strong in the meta. So this gadget nerf really, I don't think it's going to do anything. Like you could just remove his gadget from the game and probably still would be really, really good because of the burst healing of his super and the Capo's star power. So I don't think this is really going to do that much.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Capo and his super are more of like a thing, because like when I play Poco, I use my gadget to heal myself. I don't really care if my teammates don't benefit from it because I'm running Capo. I have my super. I can heal them enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, I think he's still going to be fine. It's not that big of a change.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next one up, we got Surge. They changed to the max, so it basically does nothing. It only splits when you hit a wall now.
Yeah, this is just, it's really funny to me because now it's literally like you said, it's useless. Like when are you going to attack at a wall and have it split and actually hit someone? Because it's only going to split parallel to the wall, so you'd have to hit someone like directly running up against the wall, in which case why didn't you just aim at them in the first place? Like the whole point of the star power was so that way you could hit people hiding behind walls or just extend your range a bit if you aim at an angle, and now you just can't do any of that because if you aim at someone behind a wall, then it's not going to split because you have to actually hit the wall first. So
yeah,
it really just completely removes the star power essentially.
Yeah, there's almost no point in using it because I don't know. I was never a fan of it because I don't like the fact that it rewarded you for missing shots, like how old Overgrowth used to be. I think Gene has that problem too, because if you miss his shots, you know, you could still land your shots because it's a lot wider, but at least his has damage fall off, so you know, Surge didn't have that problem. So I think adding something like damage fall off or making it harder to fully upgrade him, I think those would have been better changes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They needed to really significantly nerf the star power, but not just obliterate it from the game, because now the other one is just objectively better in every situation because this one does nothing. So
right. All right. So moving on, we'll talk about Nita. So Nita, her gadget charges went from 2 to 3, and now they added a 1 second delay to the gadget, so the stun applies 1 second after you hit it.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm not quite sure how the 1 second delay is really going to affect things. I'm not sure if it's going to be pretty easy to dodge now or if it won't really affect much. I'm not too sure. I'll have to see how it plays out in game, but I definitely think it's interesting because it just means that you can't immediately use your super and get a stun right away, which I think is just a really cheesy thing to do when you do it in the middle of a match and something that's really annoying to face against. I'm glad they sort of removed that ability while still keeping the gadget and still having it be a strong stun. So
yeah,
I'm kind of neutral overall.
Yeah, I worry about this because the 1 second delay can make it really busted, but if it's not that broken, it's going to be, the gadget itself will be broken again because 3 uses on that is like 3 guaranteed kills, especially if you're running Hyper Bear, because personally, I think Hyper Bear is the big issue with Nita. I think they should nerf that a little bit because the damage buff you get from Hyper Bear as opposed to running just a base bear or bear with me is ridiculous.
Yeah, like if you hit the gadget, it's basically an insta-kill if you have Hyper Bear at this point, just because it does so much damage so quickly.
Alright, so we'll move on. So they reworked Gale's jump pad, so instead of going 12 tiles, I think you go 6 now. And they're reworking second wind star power into freezing snow, so that's going to apply a slowing effect for every time you attack with your main attack for 0.4 seconds.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. They definitely needed to really nerf his gadget. It just completely warped the strategies you had to do in a game whenever you're facing against Gale. You just had to completely play around it at all times. Otherwise, they would just gain too much of an advantage, especially in Heist is what I'm really referring to. So reducing it to 6 tiles, I think, is definitely the nerf it needed. And it's still going to be slightly useful, but just not completely game-breaking. And the new star power it definitely seems pretty solid. Just being able to constantly slow down your opponents over and over again every time you attack just stacks and gives you a really huge advantage overall because you can basically chase down anyone. I don't see why they really needed to remove the other star power because I feel like a movement speed from the super can actually be pretty good. I think they just needed to increase the amount of movement speed or increase the duration of the movement speed increase, and I think that would be really cool because you sort of have to balance using your super on your teammates versus using them on your opponents, sort of like what you have to do with Poco and Screeching solo. So I think that could have been cool, but I definitely like this new star power as we have it.
Yeah, so I really like the gadget change rework. I think that it definitely balances out a little bit where it'll still have its uses where you can jump back into a fight, but you're not going to be able to jump right onto a heist safe like you were able to before. As far as this new star power, I think it's going to be broken. I don't really like it. I think it's going to be tough to play around when you're faced against it, and it's going to be kind of cheesy when you're using it. And Gale's already a super good tank counter, so using this is going to make it impossible for tanks to actually move up the map and get at him. And then if they do manage to get close to him by using walls or whatever, he can just blow him away with his super.
Yeah, it works really, really well together, and it doesn't... while his gadget's nerfed overall, I think Gale is still going to be just really strong. So
yeah. He does a ridiculous amount of damage, and now he can, create space whenever he needs it. Now it's going to be impossible to get anywhere near him. I also did like the idea of Second Wind because it gave him a support role on top of also being a control brawler. So I agree that if they would have just increased the buff that you got from Second Wind, I think it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I don't like when they have both star powers sort of doing similar things because then it just makes one better than the other in a lot of cases. And so having one now that slows and the other one that stuns, they essentially have the same effect, although one is with your main attack and one is with your super. But yeah, I like the ability to sort of maybe play Gale as a support brawler with one star power and playing, control with another. So the fact that they're moving that is kind of
Yeah, it kind of kills the idea of having builds in the game because, if the brawler does one job only, that's all he does. Where you think about I like to use Crow as an example for builds because he's got 2 very distinct star powers. He's got a support one in his extra toxic, and he's got an assassin one in carrying Crow, And then you take it a step further with his gadgets where his slowing one gives him more support role, so you can really lean into that support side, and then the defense booster gives him more of an assassin role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good example, and I guess not having that with Gale. So
yep, I think they should try to introduce that more with more brawlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think that would definitely make it pretty interesting.
Yep, that would make the game a lot more. It would make the game a lot more diverse. And then when you jump into a match and you see who you're faced against, you almost have to be a little more cautious before you figure out what they're trying to do with that brawler.
Yeah, exactly.
So. All right, we'll move on. So we got Darryl and Bull. So Darryl, we're going to group these two together because it's basically the same change. Darryl and Bull, they both got HP increases, so now they both have, I think it's 7,000 health at the max. Darryl's HP buff turned into a 4.2% buff, and then Bull is a 2% buff.
Yeah, so this, I mean, just a basic health buff usually doesn't have too many implications. I mean, it all depends on sort of what the interactions are with other brawlers, but for these two tanks, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that different, like percentage-wise, like you said, it's not that big. So it might help Darryl because it's a larger percentage overall, but I don't think it's going to do anything too significant to them.
Yeah, I think it helps Darryl a lot more because you can play Darryl more like an assassin with his auto-charging super. You can play real patient, get your super, and then roll in and get kills. So I think having extra health for him is a lot better. As far as Bull, it's a small change, and maybe with this change and then making it easier to get his super because both his charge and recharge rate went up, I think that might help him a little bit too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lukewarm on these changes. I don't really mind. All right, so we're moving on. So Counter Crush, Jackie's Counter Crush effective radius increased by 50%.
Yeah, so this one just, I don't really understand why they're going about changing the star power in this way, because right now, with the current damage that it does, it's just always going to be worse than the other star power. They affect the same like percentage of the amount of damage you're taking. It's just with one, you're completely nullifying it, so you're only taking 85% of the damage you've taken, and with the other star power, you're just, instead of nullifying it, you're just putting it back to your opponent. So the difference between your health and your opponent's health, which is what really matters in determining if you win a fight, overall it's going to be the same if you hit your counter crush shots. But the thing is, the hard hat star power, it's effective 100% of the time, and with the counter crush star power, it's against a lot of brawlers, it's not going to do anything. So it's just worse in literally all situations. So increasing the radius is going to make it slightly less worse, but I think it's still going to be worse. So
yeah, I totally get that too. I think that it's weird because she doesn't do good against snipers and long range brawlers, so that's kind of like where you would want a strength for her. So running hard hat is going to be way better more often than not. And
exactly.
Counter Crush is going to get more value from like tanks when they're close to you, but she doesn't really match well against tanks. She's more of like a counter to like mid range brawlers like Terra, BB, Mortis. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that star power probably needs a full rework personally.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, moving on. El Primo, asteroid belt explosion radius increased by 11%.
Yeah, this one I'm not too sure about. I mean, I don't play El Primo much, and I haven't unlocked his new gadget yet. I have faced against it a lot of times, mainly in Brawl Ball, so I sort of know like how it works, but I've never really seen it actually hit anyone. Like, I feel like it's really easy to dodge because it takes forever to actually hit the ground. So I mainly see it used for just like breaking a large area of walls in front of the goal in Brawl Ball, for example, or just basically denying anyone from defending the goal in that specific area. So it definitely seems useful, but I think the radius increase will actually make it a lot easier to hit your opponents, and obviously just the area of denial is going to be a lot better. I don't think it's going to change too much. I think it's still going to be about equal to his other gadgets, so yeah, that's basically where I'm at with this.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it'll be, yeah, like you said, it'll be easier to actually land it on opponents for when you want to use it for that, and it'll give you more of a chance of, breaking walls when you pop it, because you can't aim it. And I don't know, it works in heist. The gadget itself works in heist because you can do an extra amount of damage to the safe. So I don't know. It's an okay change, I guess. I don't know if it really needed it, but I guess it works.
Yeah.
All right. Shelly, increased health from 3,600 to 3,800. It's a 5.6% buff.
Yeah, this is really cool because Shelly, she hasn't been good for a really, really long time, and she seems like she kind of should be good. Like, her damage is insanely high if you get close to people. So I think the fact that they're buffing her health now is gonna just make her better overall, which I think is good. I'm not sure if we'll have too much of an increase because 5.6%, it's not gonna make her go from the worst brawler in the game to competitively viable or anything like that. but making her slightly better, I guess, it's a step in the right direction to reworking Shelly. So
yeah, between that, all right, so she got the health buff, and then they did add a little bit of a supercharge to her, so now it only takes 2 full attacks to be able to charge her super, so I think that helps her a little bit too. But overall, I think she needs a movement speed buff. I think she needs to be moved from normal movement speed to fast movement speed. That way she actually like matches with tanks, because right now if tank needs to back away from her, they can outrun her. So
yeah, I agree. That would be a really cool buff to see, and it would just enable you to actually get to the distance that you want, and get close enough to people to actually deal damage. So that would definitely be something interesting to see in the game.
Yeah, I think that would be a better change. And I wouldn't want her to have like very fast movement speed like BB, but I mean fast I think would do well, but I don't know. I know the devs have said they don't really want her to be strong because she just dominates lower ladder. But
True.
If they found a way to like rework Band-Aid to give her the speed buff, that way it only affected people who had her maxed out, I think that would be a lot better.
That could also be cool.
Yep. So next up we got Spike. They increased his attack damage from 520 to 560. That's a 7% buff.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. I'm not too sure why Spike needed a buff. I feel like he's just seems like balanced like already. Like there's some modes where he's never like particularly broken in any single mode. But he's never particularly bad in any single mode either. I mean, in Heist, he can do the most damage in the entire game, so I guess that's sort of like broken. But so I don't know why they buffed his damage there. That doesn't change that. It doesn't make it any better. That just makes it bigger of an issue if it is an issue. But I don't think it's even an issue because it's hard to get on the safe as it is with Spike. So I'm not too sure why they did this. Might make Spike actually like somewhat competitively viable if you're good at playing him. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think this benefits the single spikes when you're trying to shoot around walls a lot more than it actually benefits like you do a ton of damage if you actually land the spike ball and you're able to get the 3 shots or whatever. So it makes that strategy a lot more stronger, and then the individual spikes makes them a little bit better too. I don't know if I would have actually wanted this changed because it kind of makes him overpowered in my opinion, because he does a ton. I don't know if he does the most burst damage in the game, but he's definitely up there.
Yeah, with his gadget too, like on the height save, you rip it apart in like 10 seconds.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous. So now they're just making it even easier.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm not really a fan of this change. I think it was unnecessary, I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so game mode changes. So energy drink reduced damage buff from 200% to 100%.
Yeah, this is definitely needed. Like the game mode, like Showdown is already so RNG. It's like so random. Like if you get a bad spawn point and the 2 people who spawn next to you just immediately come straight for you, there's nothing you can do about that, and you just basically lose. And so it's always very random and not very skill based. So when you add in this modifier that if it spawns next to you, just insta kill anyone you run into, that just makes it even more random. And so the fact that they're at least nerfing this one aspect of the mode, it's a step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Because energy drink is, yeah, like you said, it's the most RNG based mode, and it's like if you get lucky and you get an energy drink, you can just get like 3 kills right away. But if you don't and someone else gets it and they come after you, you're basically screwed. So I like this change. I think it's a little more balanced.
Yeah.
All right. And then they are now making it so that heist safes, siege ikes, siege robots, and power cube boxes, all that kind of stuff, now scales with the average brawler level of a lobby.
Yeah, this is a really interesting decision, and I'm not too sure what the reason behind this would be, because if it's the average brawler power level in the entire match, so it's just going to be the same for every single person. It obviously has to be the same because you can't have a health bar be less on one person's screen than the other, but so it's still going to be the same like opportunities for everyone. If there's a box here with 6,000 health, you have to deal 6,000 damage. If it has half that much health, then every person in the game also has to deal half the damage, so it makes it easier for everyone. So I'm not too sure why scaling it would really change anything. Like in Heist, just the team who deals the most damage wins. I guess it would only change an interaction if like one team manages to deal just enough damage to kill the high safe, where if there was more damage, maybe the other team would come back and then win. But it's very few interactions that it changes, and it just seems like it doesn't make sense. It just makes damage inconsistent now. So in Showdown, if you 3-shot a box usually, then in the next game you might not. It might take 4 shots if they're scaling it up, or like 2 shots if it's scaling it down. So it's weird.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very strange change, because it hurts people who don't have maxed out brawlers more than it hurts people that do have maxed out brawlers. Because now, if you get queued up with a level 9 and a level 10, and you're level 5, you're gonna have a lot harder of a time breaking, doing damage to the safe. Well, I shouldn't say harder time, but proportionately, you're doing less damage than you should. So it doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't help anyone. Like it either helps everyone or just helps like some random person, depending on like how the math works out. Like sometimes it might work out in your favor, sometimes it might not. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and then like on the reverse side, if you're a level 10 and you get paired with all level 4s or whatever, you're gonna do way more damage than you should be. And then, like you said, in Showdown, it changes how many shots you need to actually open a box. So I don't know. It's a weird change.
Yeah, it's really weird.
All right,
maybe I'll like it.
We'll find out, right? All right. So now a bunch of brawlers got super charge and recharge rate reworks. I don't want to go over all of them because a lot of them are just like super minor changes. I just want to talk about the notable ones. So one of the ones that I have noted is dynamite. So now you can charge your super if you land 4 sticks of dynamite, which is essentially 2 full shots if you manage to land them. I think that's a big change for him. I think it makes it a lot easier to get his super, which is already really easy to chain if you can, land it in the right way.
Yeah, it's really huge, especially for dynamite, because all these brawlers sometimes might take like 1 less shot they have to hit, but with dynamite, when he only takes like 5 sticks to charge up his super, then percentage-wise, right, he's getting like 20% less damage essentially he has to deal, which is huge because he already takes so few shots to charge up his super. So I think that's gonna really change up things, and with his new gadget too, Dynamite might become definitely one of the better throwers in the game, even though I feel like he sort of hasn't been for a while.
Yeah, they gotta fix that bug with his gadget where it only affects one of the sticks of his dynamite. I don't know if you know about that one.
Yeah, I did see that. That's really annoying because half the time it just doesn't work.
Right. I seen people complaining about it. It's like, I landed my shot, why isn't it stunning? Because it only affects the left stick, not the right one.
Once they fix that, you'll be good.
Right. Next up, Gene. So Gene now charges his super in 3 shots if it doesn't split. I think this is a really big change because it lets you chain pulls if you're a good Gene. Yeah,
because once again, it's like if it's a low amount of ammo they need to charge up their super, then it's just automatically really good. Like you have 3 ammo, so if you get close to anyone, hit them 3 times, just auto aim, and you got your super. I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, it's definitely really good in modes like Gem Grab and Siege when you can bring people into your zone and get them killed because of the Ike.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Who else? Another one that I want to talk about is Tick. Tick now charges his super with 6 mines instead of 9. I think that's really? Yeah. I think this is a really big change for him because it'll let him spam his tick heads a little bit more. And while they're not the most valuable super in the game, they do offer a decent amount of control because you do have to run away from it, and it can be hard to get away from.
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty significant. So, yeah, if you can just keep cycling the supers, and you can fairly easily just fend off any mortises or anything like that. I think that'll definitely be pretty good for his overall viability.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about the big one right now. Let me see if there's another one I can think of. Bo charges his shots in charges his mine in 3 full shots. I know you really like Bo's tripwire ability that he got. You just made a whole video about it. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Bo is probably my favorite brawler in the game actually. So I like any changes to Bo that come out, any buffs at least. So this is really, really good for him because landing 3 shots, well, technically 9 arrows. So it's maybe not the most significant change at first, but if you get close to anyone, then you're guaranteed to hit those 3 shots basically, as long as you auto aim and are moving in the right direction. But the ability to just charge up his super quicker is so good because his super is already like the best aspect of his playing, right? Like with Bo, in a lot of times you're basically just trying to get your super as fast as possible because it lets you get an instant stun on anyone or multiple people, or it just instantly lets you break all the walls in front of the goal and stun anyone there who's trying to defend. So because of the gadget giving your super so much value, now being able to charge it up just a little bit quicker, I think is going to make him even better than he already is. And I know he's not that popular right now. I think that's just because the gadget's new, but I think over time, I think he's going to become really, really good just because instant stunning, like we see with Nita, is just, it's super good to have.
Yeah. I think, I just thinking of this right now, I think it's going to make him a lot less reliant on the supercharging totem. And obviously, Tripwire was a lot better to begin with, and now that he can charge his super a little bit easier, you don't need to run the totem anymore.
Yeah, now it would only be like in some really specific combos where you need like super combos between multiple people on your team or something. But,
right. So
yeah,
like,
you don't do that too much.
Yeah, so like in a mode like Bounty, you can still use the totem, but like Brawl Ball, if you wanted to play him in Heist, I mean, I don't know why you would, but you could. Siege, you're gonna want to run Tripwire.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the one that I really want to talk about is Terra. Now, Terra only takes 12 cards to charge her shot, or charge her super, instead of, and that's only 4 full ammo. I think it used to take her 5. Now, I would understand if my subs think I hate Terra. It's not that I hate Terra, because I really like playing Terra. She's one of my favorite brawlers. I think they're over buffing her, because now she's gotten a damage buff, a health buff, and now a super charge rate buff. And I think she's going to be a very dominant brawler.
Yeah, I agree. Like she's always been like really strong. Just her super having so much swing potential in a match if you can hit it on multiple people, and just if you can play her right, she's just really, really strong. And now it's just these slight buffs, just making her even stronger, and she can really just come out of nowhere and just be like one of the strongest brawlers in the game. And I think that's probably what's going to happen here.
Yeah, because it was before this super change. If you put your super down and you took out an enemy, you almost fully charged it again. I'm pretty sure this is going to make it so you can chain your super. So you put your super down on one person, land your shots, and you'll basically have your super right away, and you can just move over and help pinch. So I think this is going to make her like one of the best lane brawlers in the game, personally.
Yeah, definitely. Just if you can cycle supers easier, that's really, really strong.
Yep, and that's where all of Terra's strength is in her super.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's all the balance changes I want to talk about. Like I said, I don't want to go over all of the super changes because this will be like an hour-long video. It's already a decent amount of time. Do you have any closing thoughts about anything, the balance changes, the update? What do you think?
Hype for the balance changes, see how some of those like bigger reworks are gonna play in, like some of the new star power is gonna be cool to see. Update overall, I'm super excited for the new brawler. I think it's a really cool mechanic, so really excited to see how that comes out. And I'm sure there's a ton more stuff they're planning, because I know they sort of hinted at a new update coming in the next month in the middle of the season, so a lot of exciting stuff to look out for this game. So
I really like the Star Park thing. It's very creepy, and I said this in my Brawl Talk review. I think that this is actually going to be like a segue into Clan Wars. I think they're gonna, or Club Wars. I think they're gonna use it as something like add an arena, and like the brawlers are gonna like revolt back against Star Park, and that's how Club Wars is gonna be themed.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That's a really interesting theory, but they're definitely gonna include something related to. They have to include something sort of like Club Wars in the near future. I can only assume. So
yeah, I think they said they want to try to get it out around Christmas. If I remember right, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read something like that on Twitter.
Yeah, cool. So might be around the corner then.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about the balance changes down in the comments, and I 100% recommend checking out Incendium's YouTube channel. That's going to do it. I will link Incendium's YouTube channel down in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.